Welcome to the Gaff's Radar, the channel that says it as it is. Don't forget to like and subscribe as you enjoy the video. Imagine a world where 56% of sport fans have experienced racism at matches, a statistic that is as shocking as it is real. This isn't a dystopian fiction we're weaving, it's the grim reality that many face when they head out to support their favorite teams. Racism, an unwelcome guest, has long been present in the world of sport. It's a shadow that looms large over stadiums, casting a dark pall over the beautiful games. It's a problem that's widespread and deeply rooted, and the numbers don't lie. We've all seen or heard about it. From the subtle, insidious whispers of prejudice that echo around the stands, to the loud, jarring chants of racial slurs that cut through the cheers and boos. It's in the venomous comments that are hurled from one side to another, and in the ugly, physical attacks that have marred countless games. What is it about sport that brings out this side of people? Is it the intense rivalry, the passion for the game, or is it simply a reflection of the deep-seated biases that exist in our society? And while it's easy to dismiss these instances as isolated incidents, the truth is far more troubling. These are not anomalies, these are the symptoms of a chronic disease, an infection that's spread throughout the veins of sport, tainting its spirit and tarnishing its name. Sport, that's meant to unite us, to bring us together in celebration or commiseration, has become a battlefield, a place where the color of your skin, your nationality, your religion, can make you a target. And the impact of this animosity doesn't end when the final whistle blows. It seeps into the lives of those targeted, corroding their mental well-being. The scars may not always be physical, but they are profound. It's a heavy burden to carry, a relentless mental toll that can lead to anxiety, depression, and a myriad of other mental health issues. The impact of this hatred extends far beyond the sport, deeply affecting the mental health of those targeted. This is the shocking reality we're facing, a reality that we must confront head-on if we're to reclaim the true spirit of the beautiful game. Racism in sport is not just a game issue, it's a mental health crisis. It's time to delve deeper into the profound impact racism has on mental health. Far from being an isolated problem, racism is like a toxic gas that seeps into every corner of our society, poisoning our collective well-being. When a person faces racial discrimination, they don't just experience momentary discomfort or anger. The effects are far-reaching and deep-seated, often leading to severe mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Imagine being on the receiving end of racial slurs or discriminatory behavior, game after game, year after year. This constant exposure to negativity and hate can create a state of perpetual anxiety, always on edge, always expecting the worst. Depression is another common outcome. The feeling of being singled out, devalued, and ostracized based on your race can lead to profound sadness and a sense of hopelessness. The joy of the game is replaced by a dark cloud that seems to follow you wherever you go. Then there's post-traumatic stress disorder, a condition often associated with war veterans but equally applicable here. The relentless barrage of racial abuse can be so traumatic that it leaves lasting psychological scars. The field of sport, once a place of camaraderie and competition, becomes a battlefield, triggering intense fear and stress. These are not just hypotheses or conjectures, they are backed by numerous scientific studies that have established a clear link between experiences of racism and poor mental health. Researchers have found that racial discrimination can lead to a range of psychological problems, from lower self-esteem and self-worth to serious mental disorders. The implications are staggering. It means that every racial slur, every discriminatory act is not just a moment of shame, it's a potential trigger for a mental health crisis. The connection between racism and mental health is undeniable, and it's a crisis that we can no longer ignore. It's not just about the integrity of the game, it's about the well-being of the individuals who play it, who love it, who live it. It's a vicious cycle. Racism breeds hate, and this hate can lead to mental health problems. We must break this cycle for the sake of sport and for the sake of our society. But don't just take our word for it. Let's hear what the experts have to say. Psychologists, sociologists, and sports professionals have all weighed in on this issue, providing us a comprehensive understanding of the link between racism in sport and mental health. Their insights are crucial in understanding the depth of this problem, and their recommendations are instrumental in finding a solution. Psychologists who study the mind and human behavior have identified racism as a form of aggression. This aggression is mental health disorder. It is the state of mind from an unbalanced mind towards another. Gordon Allport, a renowned psychologist, devised a scale of prejudice and discrimination in 1954, which is a measure of the manifestation of prejudice in a society. Allport's scale of prejudice goes from 1 to 5. Number 1. Antilocution. This happens when a racist group freely portrays negative images of a target group. Hate speech is the most extreme manifestation of this stage. The majority of people regard it as harmless. Antilocution may not be harmful in and of itself, but it sets the stage for more severe outlets for prejudice. Number 2. Avoidance. People from the racist group actively avoid those from the target group. Although no direct harm is intended, isolation frequently causes psychological harm. Number 3. Discrimination. The target group is discriminated against by denying them opportunities and services, putting prejudice into action. Behaviors are designed to disadvantage the target group by preventing them from achieving goals, obtaining education or employment, and so on. Jim Crow laws in the United States, apartheid in South Africa, and the Nuremberg laws in 1930s Germany are all examples. Number 4. Physical attack. The racist group vandalizes, burns, or otherwise destroys out-group property, and commits violent acts against individuals or groups. Members of the target group are physically harmed. Pogroms against Jews in Europe, lynchings of blacks in the United States, and ongoing violence against Hindus in Pakistan and Muslims in India are all examples. Number 5. Extermination. The racist group seeks to eliminate or eradicate the target group. They attempt to eliminate the entire or a significant portion of the undesirable group of people. Examples include the Cambodian genocide, Nazi Germany's final solution, the Rwandan genocide, the Armenian genocide, and the Hellenic genocide. We saw these kind of atrocities perpetrated by depraved world leaders like King Leopold II of Belgium, Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Pol Pot, Ratko Mladic, and so on. Many experts agree that tackling this issue requires a multifaceted approach. They recommend stricter enforcement of anti-racism policies, increased education and awareness about the impacts of racism, and providing psychiatric mental health support for perpetrators. Professor Archer adds, "Education is key. We need to educate fans about the harmful effects of their behavior and foster a culture of respect and inclusivity." As John Barnes concludes, football should be about unity. It's a beautiful game that should bring us together, not tear us apart. As these experts have shown, it's high time that the sporting community takes serious steps to combat racism and its detrimental effects on mental health. So, what are sports institutions doing about this? Let's delve into the efforts and strides made by sports governing bodies to combat racism. FIFA, the international federation responsible for the sport, has taken a firm stance against racism. They've implemented the Say No to Racism campaign, which aims to raise awareness about the impact of racial discrimination on players and fans alike. The campaign encourages everyone involved in the sport to stand together against racism, promoting unity and respect. Similarly, UEFA, the governing body for European football, has also been proactive in tackling this issue. They've introduced regulations that impose stricter penalties on clubs and nations where fans engage in racist behavior. This includes fines, point deductions, and even disqualification. However, while these actions are a step in the right direction, there are still areas that need improvement. For instance, implementation of these policies can be inconsistent. There are times when incidents of racism go unpunished, or the penalties imposed don't match the severity of the offense. Moreover, there's a pressing need for these institutions to invest in education and awareness programs. It's not enough to penalize the offenders. We need to address the root cause of the problem. Sport institutions have a platform to educate millions of fans worldwide about the harmful effects of racism, not only within the sport, but in society as a whole. Additionally, these organizations need to ensure that they are representative of the diverse range of players and fans they serve. This means having diversity at every level, from the players on the field to the executives in the boardroom. Ultimately, the fight against racism in sport is a collective responsibility. Sport institutions have a crucial role to play, but they cannot do it alone. They need the support of the clubs, the players, and most importantly, the fans. While these efforts are commendable, there is still a long way to go. We must continue to push for change until every player and fan can enjoy the beautiful games free from racial discrimination. Change starts with us. Each one of us can play a part in ending racism in sport. It's a call to action that demands our attention. So, let's talk about what we can do as fans, players, and coaches to stand against racism and support those affected by it. Firstly, we must understand that our voice matters. It's crucial to speak up and condemn racist behavior whenever we witness it. Silence, after all, can be seen as acceptance. For fans, this might mean reporting racist incidents to stadium officials or to the police. For players and coaches, it could involve calling out racism on the pitch and in the locker rooms. Remember, your voice can be a powerful tool in the fight against racism. Next, let's consider the power of education. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it is the power to eradicate ignorance, the root cause of racism. Educating ourselves and others about different races, cultures, and ethnicities can help foster understanding and empathy. We can learn about the history of racism in sport, the impact it has on players' mental health, and the steps that are being taken to combat it. This education isn't just for adults, it's important to instill these values in young fans, players, and future coaches too. Moreover, we can support initiatives and organizations that are working to combat racism in sport. This might involve donating to these causes, volunteering our time, or simply spreading the word about their work. It's about being part of a collective effort to make football a more inclusive and respectful sport. In addition, we must not forget the importance of mental health support. The state of mind of harboring hate is a mental health complication. Also, victims of racial abuse often struggle with mental health issues. It's essential to provide them with the necessary support, whether it's professional counseling, peer support groups, or just a listening ear. Let's ensure that no one has to suffer in silence. And lastly, let's practice empathy and kindness always. Let's treat every player, coach, and fellow fan with respect, regardless of their race or ethnicity. Let's celebrate the diversity in sport, rather than allowing it to be a cause for division. In conclusion, combating racism in sport requires a collective effort. It involves speaking up, educating ourselves and others, supporting anti-racism initiatives, providing mental health support, and practicing empathy and kindness. It's not a quick fix, but a continuous journey towards creating a more inclusive and respectful sporting culture. Together we can create a sporting culture that respects and values all players, regardless of their race. And remember, every small step counts. So, let's start taking those steps today. In conclusion, racism in sport is a serious issue that has far-reaching mental health implications. To encapsulate our discussion, we've unearthed some disquieting truths about the intersection of racism and sport. We've seen how this deep-seated problem not only tarnishes the beautiful game's reputation, but also leaves a lasting impact on the mental health of individuals subjected to it. We've understood that racism in sport is not a mere expression of intolerance or hostility. It's a manifestation of deeper mental health concerns. It's a cry for help from those who harbor such sentiments, often mirroring their own psychological struggles. The unwarranted anger, the misplaced hate, and the irrational bias are all indicative of a troubled mind grappling with its own demons. We've also listened to expert opinions, shedding light on the psychological aspects of racism. Experts have emphasized how racist behavior could be symptomatic of underlying mental health issues, such as anxiety, depression, or personality disorders. They've underlined the necessity for professional intervention and therapeutic support for such individuals. Moreover, we've delved into the role of sport institutions in combating this issue. We've underscored the importance of proactive efforts in eradicating racism from the sport. This includes implementing stringent anti-racism policies, promoting diversity and inclusivity, and providing mental health support for those affected by racism, as well as those perpetuating it. We've also explored the actions that we, as fans and members of society, can take to curb racism in sport. From calling out racist behavior, supporting victims, to promoting mental health awareness, every little step counts. It's about creating a safe and inclusive environment where everyone, regardless of their race or ethnicity, can enjoy the game they love. But let's not stop there. Let's carry this conversation beyond the confines of this video. Let's discuss it with our friends, debate it in our social circles, bring it up in our schools and workplaces. Let's ensure that this is not a forgotten conversation, but one that leads to lasting change. It's crucial to remember that this fight against racism isn't just about improving sporting activities, it goes beyond that. It's about creating a more inclusive, more compassionate society. It's about understanding and addressing the mental health issues that underlie such behavior. It's about extending a helping hand to those who need it, offering them the support and resources to overcome their struggles. The journey to eradicate racism from sports and our society is a long one, but it's a journey worth undertaking. It requires collective effort, persistence, and most importantly, empathy. Remember, your role in this fight is crucial. Your actions matter. Your words carry weight. The fight against racism is not just about improving sport participation, it's about creating a more inclusive and compassionate society. Thank you for watching, and remember, your voice matters. Views expressed in this video are purely ours, whilst also properly researched. The Gaff's Radar.